the principles of true change are not what we have been ever taught to understand. Probably the only group in the world, I mean, apart from shamanic groups, who understand what true change is are sort of Taoist stroke Zen people. And even not too many of the Zens, because they're tied into Buddhism, and I think they've lost it as well. But pure Zen people, and certainly Taoists, know what true change is all about. It once used to be taught quite widely, and is no longer, but it's very much the center of my work, which I talk about deconstruction, or the Shiva cycle. True change can only take place, as the alchemist Figulus said, is when bodies are broken down or reduced to their first matter. This, of course, is extremely threatening to most people who believe that change is keeping all the baggage you've got and adding more. No, that's what man has been doing. That's what's called solar. That's patristic. That's hierarchical. In other words, you're actually making the same mistakes as the very enemy you want to pull down. How can you do that? It's like Punch and Judy. You're not going to get anywhere. As I say, the knife going into the canvas is going into your own soul. You must change the way you look at what change is. Western man has been taught that it's acquisitive, it's conquestative, it's aggressive, you will it into existence, you have it, it's ownership, it's gain, it's have, all of this very yang attitude towards life, and also towards change. Actually, spiritually, it's the reverse. It's letting go, it's abstinence, it's non-interference, it's asceticism, a certain form of mental asceticism. It's letting the thing pass. It's releasing yourself from it. It's no longer clutching it like some maniac. That is what causes real change. Or as the alchemist said, it's burning things down to its basic elements. And then from that, a new form is built. Now that's what the planet Pluto in astrology represents. It's a part of the mind that is deconstructive, that is catabolic, that the Eastern people would call the Shiva model, you see. It's not destruction. That's another, again, a false way of looking at it. It's deconstruction. But we have been given so many false ideas about the nature of true change. We don't realize that it's cathartic. We don't realize that it's about letting go. And the West needs to understand this. Otherwise, there's not going to be real change. There's not going to be, what we'll do is keep on repeating, you see, the same methodology. Like Buckminster Fuller said, if you want to change something, don't keep repeating, or was it Einstein? Don't keep repeating the same way that you've been doing it before. You have to create a new model to replace the old model. And that's what we're being given the chance to do.
Yeah, but Michael, it's going to be a little difficult to get people to go in that direction and the global shift of consciousness to shift in that direction. I mean, people love their slavery and they look for all these escapes from reality so they don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. People fear that. And they have anxiety, and therefore they run, as you said, into all the authentic escapes, hoping that they can fall asleep, hoping that they don't have to think about it, because, again, as I've said so many times in my work, one of the biggest reasons that you see the world in the shape that it's in is because people have got no balls, and excuse my language, but they got no courage anymore. And I don't know if it's because the real people are lying in graves, who had the guts to fight, are all dead and buried because they actually were the ones who went and fought in the First and Second World War and all the other horrific things that have happened, and what's left is just genetic garbage, I don't know. Or it's just because there's something has happened. Maybe it is the conditioning, or maybe it's too much affluence. Or I actually do believe it's a combination of a lot of things. But the fact of the matter is, if people just had a little bit of guts to fall in love with the word no,
we wouldn't have half the problems we do today.
Yeah. First of all, they'd realize that you can turn politics back. If you misguidingly voted somebody or some rule or law in, and then the Congress goes and abuses it, or a politician goes and abuses it, or a president abuses it, you can take it back. If George Bush goes and signs illegal executive orders, if Obama does it, you can turn that back. You have ways of doing it. Don't just think it's all one way. We can't reverse it. We can't reverse untold immigration. We can't reverse, outsourcing. Of course you can. But the thing is that man has lost his guts. He just simply does not have it anymore.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think there's another factor that we need to look at, though. People are just flat out lazy. I mean, we live in the biggest welfare state in the world. People want everything provided for them, and now they even want universal health care. They think the government should provide their health care. Well, what happened to take responsibility for yourself?
I know.
I mean, yeah, it's exactly what I'm talking about. People want to be free, but they don't want to be responsible as free people. So I guess the next question that I would pose to you, Mike, is what do we do with these people and how do we reach them?
Well, you don't. Well, at least I don't. If you ask again 10 other researchers, they'll tell you different things. My motive is never to waken up mankind.
What is it, just to shake them up real well?
Not even that. It's because I have a policy of non-intervention, what's called, it's hard to explain. It's like non-interference because, don't you see the paradox? If you try to go and shake somebody awake, aren't you actually violating their freedom?
Yeah, from that perspective, you are.
Right. Good.
But, Michael, we're still faced with the problem that they're bringing us down with them, so we have to do something about it, don't we?
No. You can defend yourself. I get your point, though. I would say that you provide signposts, but you can't walk the road for people. That's what I kind of do in my life. But what I do more than that is this knowledge is basically starts with me, number one. I know that sounds very egotistical, but what else can you do? If I don't own it, how can I dare ask somebody else? I do what my work is, and then people come to it. They come to it when they're ready. They pick it up. They don't like it. They throw it down. But we have to be very cautious about going and violating the sphere of whatever people have set up for themselves, even if it's a lie. Perhaps we're not even meant to go in there and have the right to change it. We went into this in the Architects of Control DVD in the second disc, and we asked this question. And I am my personal belief is that no, you're not allowed to violate the ignorance factor of somebody else because it's up to them to make the change. It's another form of dictatorship. It's another form of totalitarian action when even as a presumed teacher or even out of the best motives that you go there and try to ram something down somebody's throat or condemn them or whatever. It's not important because we have to have, well, first of all, like I said, we don't want to repeat the very actions of the people that we claim to be opposed to. And two, there may be even a spiritual law that says that the ignorance that this person is in is perhaps where they need to be right now. They have chosen it. It's all based on the idea, you see, that there's a choice going on in people's lives and that not a single thing is happening in people's lives that is not based on an element of choice. This is also a key part. But you're right. T.S. Eliot, the famous poet, he said that humankind cannot bear very much reality. As we said earlier, they may be even running from freedom. That's why there's $650 million per year spent on just sleeping pills and all the other kind of, pharmaceuticals that are out there. And there's she's not operating now, but there was a politician in Ireland called Bernadette Devlin, and she had a brilliant comment that backs up what I was saying earlier about the alchemical model of change. She said to gain that which is worth having, it may be necessary to lose everything else. That's exactly what you're seeing in the world today. And my message is, get out of the bloody way. Don't try to prop up what is corrupt. Don't try to save people from falling over the edge. They may need to fall and hurt themselves and scar their knees, and they may need to see this rotten edifice that is built on so much crime, so much filth. What is wrong with people? Can't they get okay with the deconstruction? And the answer is no, they can't, because they've been mistaught about what the real nature of change is. They've been mistaught that if you're not having something and their pockets are bulging and they're morbidly obese in their consciousness, so to speak, that then they're not feeling fed. There comes a particular winter cycle. There comes a particular harvest cycle. There is nothing you can do about it, and if you stand in the way of it, you're going to be under the horse's hooves of that deconstructive, entity, because that happens in your own psyche, by the way. It happens in the age of an individual. It happens in the seasons. It happens in the movement of the planets. And it happens in psychology, and whatever happens in psychology obviously is going to happen in the life of nations. And America right now is going through this winter cycle. Get with it. The farmer could have taught you this, but they're all dead. The shaman could have taught you this, but they're all dead. And the only, the few people are left who can say, look, wait a minute, this is positive. Go with it. Let go. Attached to nothing.
Well, that's really difficult for people to do, though.
Is very, very difficult model for people who have been grabbing all their lives and trying to fill this void of emptiness. This is, again, these are not political statements. That's because I don't look at the whole predicament of humankind from a political point of view. I'm looking at it psychologically. And I think that this is a message I say that other people can get into, but as an adventure, as an interesting, discovery, as you look at a beautiful sapphire and turn it around and look at the thing and analyze a piece of artwork. That's all I offer to people. It's just, a vision. But I'm not forcing anyone to, I'm not standing up on a soapbox and going, no, follow my way. This is the right way to all healing and all will solve every problem. There are many people through the years who felt that they have an answer. We know this. They're called revolutionaries. They're called Martin Luther Kings and Che Guevara's, whatever. And they want to do that. They rush forward immediately without a modicum of real psychological understanding, and then say, I'm waving the flag. It's like that famous Charlie Chaplin movie, you know, where a flag had fallen down and he just wants to give it back to the guy, and he runs down the street and the whole mob comes behind him thinking he's the leader, you know. This is what man is doing now. Anyone anyone who sets himself up, Obama, look at the, Jesus, don't even get me started. Look at what happened.
The Obamanoids.
Right, look what was going on. You don't know that this is a one-party system? They don't know that this guy is another wolf in sheep's clothing? He's funded and operated, and the strings are pulled by exactly the same people?
Uh-huh.
Then don't expect a different result, you see, America or the world, whatever, when you see this. And ultimately, the answers to all of life's problems are not political, they are psychological. And therefore, when you have the psychological knowledge, coupled with a little bit of political, legal, and philosophical knowledge, I'm not saying that they shouldn't sit at the table too, they should. But the big king, the big kahuna here is the psychological understanding of life, because all civilization, all cities, all relationships, everything that you do is based on your own psychological makeup. That's the foundation of everything, because then at that point you're not talking about whether the person's Chinese or whether the person's Indian or whether the person's a Mexican or whether the person's whatever. You know, we all have the similar anatomy of the psyche. It may be slightly different complexion, but ultimately man as a conscious animal he's very similar. You know, they've had great sages like Confucius and Lao Tzu in the West. In the East, we've had the Platos in the West, and then in the Americas, we've had the great seers and shaman. So all men have been as high or as low across the globe. It doesn't matter where you are.